Now I'd like to briefly talk about spirit seal, Shen Feng, also known as spirit altar or spirit domain. Shen refers to spirit or God or a supernatural being, and Feng is referring to a letter or an envelope that's been affixed with a stamp. It also refers to a measure of land or a scepter that's given to nobles by the emperor, symbolizing their power to rule in the emperor's name. It also is interpreted as a double earth next to a hand affixing a seal of authority. So this is the earth front shu point on the upper kidney portion of the meridian. And ultimately, on a spirit level, this point is said to assist the patient in becoming more grounded and in touch with their life's purpose by connecting with one's self-esteem. The Feng scepter, given to the nobles, granting them authority to rule in the name of the emperor, represents the physiological endowment of Jing upon the Shen, and this is enabling it to rule the Zongfu. Just as every ruler has a territory, the territory must be sealed to prevent invasion from hostile forces. Similarly, Ren 17, the Mu point of the pericardium and the master point of lung qi, located at the center of these bilateral kidney points, provides the qi that protects the Shen of the heart. So there's two understandings of Feng here. The first is a reference to the seal that's used to authenticate the identity of an individual, a personal signature of sorts. So remember that the blood becomes shui blood when all the material from the middle jiao reaches the heart, which then puts its stamp of authority onto it. The blood is said to become red only after it passes through the heart, and its color symbolizes its nature as the material matrix of our consciousness. So the actions and words that emerge authentically from our heart are our personal stamp, our signature on the painting of our life's work. This point reminds us of this truth and brings forth this quality back to our consciousness. So what emerges is transcendence from the acquired habits of our personality and the ability to spontaneously be our natural self. Um, One of the ways to think about this is this sort of natural, authentic self is remember what you were interested in before you knew what any of that meant, before you had any idea about possible limitations, your body type, your intelligence, your financial or social status, etc. Um, I'm reminded of Jung, Carl Jung, the famous psychotherapist, who later on in life was contemplating this very issue. You know, what's like his authentic nature? What's he really about at a deep, spontaneous, authentic level? And he remembered that as a child, he was very interested in building blocks and constructing things. So he hired a crew of guys, and together with them, he designed and built his own house. And he said that that was the most transformative experience of his entire life. So that's an example of, reflection, right, which is mediated by the water and the kidneys, going inside, sort of looking within, contemplating your own inner nature, what feels right, what you seem made for or built for, despite all of your preconceived ideas or uh, thoughts or the feedback you've gotten from others about what you're good at or what you're not good at, because none of that really matters. So this point reminds us of getting back to our original self. So it assists us in taking an independent stand apart from the mundane material world to escape the smothering forces of our family or the groups that we're aligned with. So based on thoughtful understanding, this allows us to see ourselves and what happens to us as fertile soil for the growth to come. We're more than just our past. We're more than just our family. We're more than just our culture or our heritage or our ancestry, right? So what veils us from this? What makes us forget? What distracts us? So being busy and overwhelmed with the mundane aspects of our daily life, the wonder of the familiar can easily turn into the mundane. The incredible beauty and purity found in the eyes of a child becomes obscured by the frustration of not being able to get, like say, get them in the car seat so you can get them to daycare, right? All the things that we get unhappy about, right? Getting to work on time, dealing with our boss or the people at work that maybe don't have our best interest at heart. Right? So this brings us to the other image of Feng Seal. So as explained in Chinese characters by Uyghur, Feng represents a tree upon an earthen mound. And this is an imperial altar of sorts, which represented the imperial authority over the land. So when the emperor bestowed territory to a nobleman, a mound of earth would be taken from the imperial altar and placed upon the noble's altar as a symbol of imperial authority. Just as it was necessary for the local lord to be in communication with the emperor to receive the imperial mandates and decrees, so too was it necessary for the tree to receive the life-giving air, sunlight, and water from heaven. So when the authority of the empire was challenged, or the authority of the emperor was challenged, the sacred tree was enclosed in a structure open only to the north, and this is the direction associated with the water element, exposing it to the injurious influences of the cold and the darkness. So they're making a philosophical statement as well as a statement about our nature, our physical and physiological nature and psychological nature. So this is similar to what happens when the patient is cut off from the warmth and the light of the south, right? Which is the beneficial influences of heaven, the mandate of one's inner emperor, sealing one's heart and diminishing its Shen and its power. So what seals the Shen off from receiving the heavenly influences on the microcosmic personal level? So as alluded to before, the seemingly overwhelming nonstop demands of our environment that tempt us to act like or become someone we're not for the sake of, say, being good or just getting along, or maybe even survival. So the heart is the official that feels everything. It's involved with the transformation of all emotions into love by virtue of its inner knowing of the truth that's found at the bottom of every moment and every circumstance. And that is, all there is love. Love is all there is. And the heart circulates this awareness via the blood. So if we're overwhelmed by strong or persistent, that is chronic emotions, the heart's inner knowing is obscured by the fallacious interpretations of the environment by the conditioned mind, which has become, perverted or distorted by past pain. So these often show up as fear, which is usually at the very bottom of any issue of identity or asserting our power into the world. So treating kidney 23 can seal off the Shen in a more positive way, enclosing it securely within the sacred space of our chest and our heart to relieve us from life's distractions so we can reconnect to our inner wisdom and our inner self. We can trust our intuition or our inner knowing and stand in our authority, restoring our capacity to be a real powerful force in the world. So it's a very good point for when the patient is unable to exert their authority in any meaningful way. And this may manifest as retreating from life out of fear or paranoia, collapsing or acquiescing to inappropriate demands or bullying, or failing to act on or even cultivate one's own ambitions. So this is also good for when the patient is physically strong, but they're said to have no will to live. That's according to the notes from J.R. Worsley. So like all the rest of the upper kidney points, it is good for diffusing the lung qi, which also helps calm rebellious qi and harmonize the stomach and the lung.